and welcome to Express Sports Podcast. You're listening to Game Time with me, Mihir Vasavda. Sitting across me in the same room is Amit Kamath, and joining us today all the way from Chennai is Venkat Krishna B. And the man from Chennai will be doing most of the heavy lifting for us today because we are going to talk about his fellow city mate, state mate, the person who recently took 500 test wickets, who played his 100th test match when India took on England at the Dharamsala, the beautiful Dharamsala ground. Last Thursday was the match when it started. R. Ashwin. Amit, this is a guy, I think, बहुत ही कम players हैं in Indian cricket who, is it fair to say, splits opinion? I mean, I say that because he is a great spinner. His stats say that. I mean, I don't know, yaar. मतलब काफी सारे लोग अभी भी, I mean, it's a question, right? About his greatness, so to say, if it was, say, we compare it to Harbhajan Singh, Anil Kumble and all those past spinners. So, of course, that's one side to the Ashwin thing, the legacy, the whole journey and all those things. But what a player, though. Great bowler, a wonderful batsman, and Venkat will, I think, punch me or pinch me the next time we meet because I'll use the word which Ashwin in one of the interviews to Venkat said that he doesn't like to be associated with him. That is a great thinker and intellectual of the game. As much as his spells, the long spells, his Kutti stories also are pretty cool. Amit?
Mir, you spoke about the stats, you spoke about the perceptions. Just for listeners, I'm pretty sure all of you are aware of these stats anyway. Like Ashwin is somebody who's been the fastest bowler to get to 250 wickets, fastest bowler to get to 300 wickets, fastest to 350 wickets. He's been the second fastest bowler to get to 400 wickets, 450 wickets and 500 wickets. So that tells you a story of a guy who's, very good with bowling the ball, I guess. And the funny thing is, I think last year in June, when he gave Venkat a very, very heartfelt interview, he mentioned how, one of the regrets that he has of his career was becoming a bowler. So all of those things we are hoping to unpack with Venkat because he's somebody who's spoken to Ashwin a lot, watched him play a lot, spoken to his wife recently in a very nice interview that she's given to the Express, talking about the man behind I'm not going to say the thinker, the man behind the bowler.
But Venkat, before we do that, let's just rewind a bit because what's happened is Ashwin's played for 13 years now. It's his 13th year in international cricket and it's far too long a time, हम लोग के attention span के time के हिसाब से, to kind of sit back and understand how the journey started. Like Amit spoke about the stories you've done. I'll plug a story by a former colleague of ours from the Indian Express, Karthik Krishnaswamy, a wonderful profile in the Cricket Monthly written, I think, some 7-8 years ago, where, Ashwin was described as this naughty guy, one who would always be punished while he was a kid, while he was in school and college, and then transformed into a much more serious person as he grew up. But Venkat, what were Ashwin's earliest steps in cricket? How did he get his first big breakthrough before he went on to become a centurion?
Okay, so a lot of us remember Ashwin from Chennai Super Kings days, isn't it? Like this young boy getting the ball from Dhoni in yellow jersey and then trying to impress him in South Africa and thereafter in the Champions League T20. But for me, the first image of R. Ashwin is invariably came in The Hindu. If you can go back and revisit memory back, that's the first time I saw his photo was in The Hindu. And it was just doing one of the Ranji games. So, and from there on, his name was always been there in schools and stuff. You look at it, whether it's Express or The Hindu, you'll always find in any cricket, be it first division cricket or in Ranji cricket, R. Ashwin's name was always constant. And then it was only then that, okay, when you come here, you move here, then you realize that how big Ashwin is coming through the ranks. Wherever you go, whether it be it Chepauk, whatever it is, there is they're all talking about Ashwin, Ashwin, Ashwin. This is, I'm talking about in the initial years of IPL, even before Chennai got into this, the entire city was consumed by Dhoni mania. So back then, this Chennai Super Kings team had lot of Tamil players in it, right? They had Ashwin, they had M. Vijay, they had Badrinath, they had L. Balaji and Palani Amarnath, to name a few. And among them all, this Ashwin was coming through, and then he was being pushed every season he was just coming ahead and ahead of others. And then by the 2011 IPL came about, where he had a wonderful season with CSK. I think by then he was edging closer to being a finished product, where he had a stellar final as well, removed Chris Gayle up front in the first over of the IPL final, and then game, certain match. That was it. So that is what Ashwin is. But if we further rewind our thing a little bit, Ashwin is all about like St. Beats. Like you talk to anyone from St. Beats, the school, everybody will tell like more than Ashwin, it's his father Ravichandran who's a popular man there. Even the other day, Preeti, while talking to the Indian Express, was telling like even back then in school, she never got to know Ashwin as much, but she knew a lot about his father Ravichandran because he used to, even if Ashwin is like end up in some ground in Chennai, Mr. Ravichandran will make it a point to come to school, collect notes, and take notes from other students as well with his classmates. And that's how popular Ravichandran was. And nobody knew at that point in time more about Ashwin because Ashwin rarely attended classes. He was like more or less always in the school ground playing some tournament or the other. And then it was like, again, he started off as a batsman. Then everybody knows this point, I believe. He started off as a batsman and then he moved on to off spinner. Even the other day, Rohit Sharma was mentioning how even when he first saw him, Ashwin was more of a batsman. And it was only in like around 18-19 that he became more of an off spinner. And there's this tale, right? Like all of us, that was back then, a lot of noise in Tamil Nadu was always on like Dinesh Karthik. Dinesh Karthik, wherever you go, Dinesh Karthik, DK, because with this talent and the amount of shots he used to play, and then there was like a special crowd used to come just to turn up and watch DK play. And then after that, somebody who was like, God, that sort of a thing has been undoubtedly Ashwin. From the time he has like moved into his engineering days in SSN college, which is like, I mean, we all talk about how Sehwag and Nehra took this long travel from Najafgarh to Delhi, right? This thing about Ashwin is like the same. It's like his college is in like one corner of the city, SSN college, and his house is like right in the heart of the city. So for him to anyway, like to start like early in the morning and then around like 6:37 to take a bus, go all the way for like a travel for like couple of hours, reach college, practice there and come back. Must be like as difficult as anyone it was. But again, it is, as Ashwin himself says, like it is like more of pursuing the passion. So I don't think he felt those difficulties at all. But it is like it's been a road till he got there. It's been like a one with lots of ups and downs, I'm sure about it.
Yeah, and you mentioned St. Beats. It's crazy because, like you mentioned, how Rohit Sharma also kind of said that he saw R. Ashwin as a batsman first. His coach at St. Beats, C. Vijay Kumar, he rated Ashwin's batting skills higher than his bowling. And in fact, when he went for selection trials, he didn't ask Ashwin to bowl because he didn't want Ashwin to jeopardize the chances of other off spinners. So he was confident that Ashwin would just make it to the team on his batting skills alone. And it was only when he became like an under-19 setup with the Tamil Nadu Cricket Association where he met Sunil Subramaniam, who kind of pushed him into the whole direction of being a spinner, Amit.
Yes, also I think one has to also acknowledge the role of his mother, I believe, Chitra, because she was the one who found like Ashwin back then had this entire wheezing problem he had, which means like he couldn't run a lot. And then he had like some issues with his knee as well. So his mother said like, why do you want to run so much? Why do you want to like concentrate so much on that aspect? Why don't you just pick a ball and just start spinning? Whatever you're going to do, you're going to be good at it because you have put your heart and soul into it. And I think that was a huge turning point, I believe, when your mom says something like that. Like, I mean, we all, like, even when you're at home, when we play a game of cricket and come back, your mom might not know something, I mean, may not know something, anything about cricket, but if she says like, hey, you're well bowled, you'll automatically put your collars up and you'll get a swag, right? I think it's like, same thing would have happened with Ashwin as well. And then from there on, I think Mr. Sunil Subramaniam came in, and then it's all about like, I think what strikes me a lot is like how much he has evolved as a spinner all through these years. And to go through, I don't know how many variations he has had in terms of his bowling action. It's like he started off with one bowling action and then now it is totally different. And between he again went back to his old. So nobody knows, like, I mean, a lot of us speak about the variations he has, but I'm not sure how many variations he has in his bowling style.
Venkat, so you obviously spoke about how many times he's had to kind of reinvent himself. But one of the things that has always stood out for me is how he's also kind of had to reinvent himself because, as he mentioned, in June 2023 in an interview with you, about how he has to keep doing that, has to maybe slightly think a whole lot because he doesn't have that much leeway to begin with. Like, maybe a batter will be given much more opportunities than a spinner in the Indian team, where he knows that he has only like 2 shots to make it count, which is why he keeps constantly rethinking about what he could be doing better, what he could be changing. He keeps rethinking a little bit. You want to talk about that a little bit, Venkat, about the fact that, he's always had a short rope Like last year at the World Test Championship final, he found himself not in the Indian team. He was also, I believe, not in the Indian team for the 2019 Cricket World Cup. So he's always at these critical junctures in his career, he's always been, I don't know, overlooked, dropped, forced to go back to the drawing board once more.
Yeah, I think he's like at multiple points he's gone back to drawing board right through his career. But I'm not sure whether I wouldn't agree whether he has done it because his place is like under like some sort of doubt, or whether he's not able to find a spot in the 11. I think it's more to do with being on top of his game. That's what I feel, because one of the thing he all constantly refers is you don't want off spin, all said and done, it's a simple trade, right? In cricket, it's there's no mystery involved and a lot of things, but to still pick 500 wickets and more, it needs something special. I mean, in this day and age where there are numerous video analysis going around, it's you need to have something different all the time. I think that is the reason why he keeps going back to the drawing board, just to give himself the edge over the batsman all the time. Be it working on his variations, or be it working on his speeds, be it working on his trajectory. And to tell you something, he relies a lot and lots on data, and it involves crazy things hey, listen, he'll call up one of his friends and he'll ask this data. Listen, I want to know on day one, if he is playing, say, Australia, he'll call up his friend and ask on day one of a test match against an off spinner, where all does David want to play his shots and to what degree the ball spun. I think these sort of a thing, reading all this thing, that's enormous. I feel this is what his homework part is. And whether he wants to go and work in the nets, he's always if he's not part of the Indian team, you'll always find him either playing in Chennai League or he's at his academy bowling to someone. And it's or to just bowling at one stumps. That's what it's always been. And then you tend to ask okay, Lord, you have already have so many wickets. Do you still need to work? He's be yes, of course. There's for him, it's a lot more about how the ball comes off his hand, whether the grip. It's he will go on and on. So it's I think it's minute details that he likes to really improve on. I think that is why he concentrates a lot on those aspects. Again, going back to the drawing board, work on something, and then again, one thing that we all speak about is for a spinner, what is really important is having a repeatable action. I think that is what Ashwin also likes to have, I believe. Because you look at it, there was the last time when he spoke to us in that interview, he told us there is a point in time where he thought okay, let me give up after the Australia series. I will retire because I'm finding it too hard. But still he came back with a different action, because that was not giving him any trouble to his body. And then he managed to get wickets, and now he's still going on. So these things I think he keeps saying. I think the darkest phase, I would say, probably was the 2017 after the Champions Trophy final, where he was omitted from the white ball series against South Africa, and he didn't find a spot in any of the white ball setup for close to 2.5 years. So that I think was must have been that was a big wake up call, as Preeti mentions to us in the interview. Ashwin could see it coming 4 months in advance. He saw that when he picked up the 2016 ICC Player of the Year and ICC Bowler of the Year award in Dharamshala, incidentally, he came back and he told his family, listen, I'm working on a leg spin. If this doesn't work out, I'll be out of the equation. And so it happened. I think it's all about that, I believe. Finding the urge to do something, keep learning new tricks, or improving your game. I think everybody talks about it. I don't think anybody follows it to the tilt say Ashwin does in the current setup. We always heard about Rahul Dravid. We always speak about Sachin Tendulkar, Anil Kumble. I think Ashwin is probably in that category as well when it comes to being obsessed, or when it comes to fine tuning his skills. I think he's very, very dedicated.
Two quick observations that I had about Ashwin. In June 2023, when Ashwin was not part of that Indian team which played in the World Test Championship final and lost, just one day after that snub, Ashwin was back in India playing for Dindigul Dragons in the TNPL in Coimbatore. So that kind of emphasizes, the mindset of a bowler. He knows that he could have maybe played, he might have made a difference if he had played for India, which a match that they went on to lose. And he knows that, he played a significant role in getting the Indian team to where it was in the final. That was one thing. And one of the things that, Venkat just mentioned about Ashwin being obsessed, one of the sad little, I don't know whether it is sad or it's a compliment or whether it's a slight, Ashwin has always been thought of as an overthinker. And I think after that, when he was playing for Dindigul Dragons, Venkata asked him, you've been thought of as an overthinker, so what do you think about it? And his quote, I'm going to read a quote from his interview, which is very instructive. He says, a lot of people marketed me and positioned me that I'm an overthinker. A person who will get 15-20 matches on the go doesn't have to be mentally overthinking. But a person who knows that they will get only 2 games will be traumatized and will be overthinking because it's my job. It's my journey and this is what suits me. So then he goes on to explain, about how every time he comes back from a tour, he will not take a holiday. He will probably go back to the drawing board trying to think of new things to tweak about.
And I think this trait, I remember stories from, around a decade ago when India were touring Australia and he was dropped from the Adelaide Test. Venkat would know it better, but back then it was said to be like one of his turning points as far as Test career were concerned, because apparently while India were playing that Test match, he was in the nets behind the stadium with Bharat Arun. I think Venkat was the coach, and Bharat kind of tweaked his, he pointed out the flaws in his action and his run-up, from the way his body was aligning to where his foot was being planted while he was releasing the ball and all those things. And those little changes actually kind of have made him a better bowler. But Venkat, there's this one thing, right, about, actually there are so many things, but 2 things, just to keep this a little tight. One is the argument that Ashwin's rise has also coincided with the fact that India have played matches at home on pitches that start turning from day one. That is the first argument. And the second is, when we look at stats, right? I'm not a stats person, but I did sit for 5 minutes and kind of dig into some of those things. And his home away records are kind of interesting because, say, for example, away from home, he averages around 30.4 and strike rate is 62.8. And when India is playing at home, the average falls to 21.23 and strike rate is 46.2. If, say, for example, Venkat, India weren't playing on pitches that turn from day one, what would we talking about today when it comes to Ashwin?
I think it would have still ended up with as many wickets. I think this entire argument that India played a lot of cricket at home during Ashwin's career on rank turners is again like one of those things that's being said like he's an overthinker, I believe. Because to start off, when he started off his test career, India playing on any rank turners, they were playing on traditional home tracks. And the first home series where I really felt like they played on a ranked turner was during the 2015 series against South Africa at home. After that, they have been all like, they have played against one test against Australia on a turner, but majority of the test matches have been played on traditional Indian wickets, I believe, especially if you take the 2016-17 home season, where India defeated New Zealand, England, Australia in a go, and where Ashwin was the man of the series in at least 2 of it, I believe. And he had a career best figures against New Zealand and had a very good outing against England, and then he went on to win the ICC Player of the Year and Bowler of the Year award. Those series, they were played on traditional Indian pitches, except for one pitch at Pune where India lost. So, and again, when we come back to like after that, we have like had series against like South Africa, which yes, the test matches have ended in like 4 days, 3 days, yes, but like this have been like it was the last against the England series where when 2021 where with the World Test Championship points being like sort of the entire qualification process being rearranged at the middle of the tournament, that's when India sort of resorted to the spinning tracks. But before that, I think India played on relatively like slow turners, not as much as ranked turners. And so there is a lot of thing in it. And then also it also depends on the team. It's not like Ashwin is like telling the team, hey, listen guys, like let's have this. I think it's the previous set of guys like say Anil Kumble or Harbhajan Singh, whoever for that matter. They had like a different set of batsmen in their ranks and who wanted like a different set of like track. And it's like more often than not teams prepare their conditions according to their strongest shoot. I think that's what they did. And then that's what India did this in the last decade as well, where the last 5-6 years with the WT Test Championship points coming in. So I think all of it has like played a role. And again, when you talk about away performances, it's like a pretty tough thing, right? Like, see, when we come here, we always like, the likes of James Anderson or Pat Cummins, Mitchell Starc, they don't get the conditions that they enjoy back in Australia when they come here. And it's similar when India go there. If you look at it, where India have become, with especially with the good fast bowling attack they have, teams have hesitated. I mean, when you go to England, New Zealand, or Australia, what's the matter? Like, they have been like little hesitant in giving them absolute green tops as well, and they don't want to give anything relatively on the drier side as well, because that would bring both Ashwin and Jadeja into play. So it's always been about like how to under India by having a seaming track or whatnot. And in those circumstances, I think it's like you need to take wickets on these conditions as well. If you're like, you need to place that as well as that aspect as well in place, whether Ashwin has got like really good spin conditions where he is like said like, okay, I haven't like bowled well. Yes, when you go back to the 2013 South Africa tour, there was one game where India expected to close out the game on day 5. India didn't do it. And then there was 2018 tour of England where Ashwin started every game. And then, I mean, he picked one of those games, Birmingham, as one of his best, but India unfortunately couldn't close out the game. So these small things, and again, New Zealand has like seldom got a chance to play a test match there because of how the conditions are. So it's like a 50-50 thing, I would say. Like, I honestly thought 2021, he could have got a game, but it was like India had like such a superb fast bowling core. They didn't want to look at playing two spinners. I think if Ashwin had played the series, especially given the tracks that they got, I think maybe Ashwin would have had like a 5-4 and in England to show as well, with like he would have just been like so proud about.
Right, and we perhaps carry on this conversation for another 10 years, and we'll say Ashwin would have played 200 tests by then, but we don't have that luxury of time, not because our producer Shashank has already started messaging us on our Zoom chat. So Venkat and Amit, I think both of you, I'll kind of want your views on it. How will Ashwin be remembered? For what? For me, I mean, as much as a bowler, I think it's his batting contributions, because like
he has 5 centuries, by the way.
Exactly.
In tests.
Yeah, and I've always been complaining about India having a tail which hasn't been effective. So yeah, I mean, what do you think he'll be remembered for? Amit, you first and then Venkat.
Yeah, I think for me, as somebody who doesn't cover cricket so much, but maybe looks at Olympic sports, I think the one quality that stands out is this, need for always trying to reinvent yourself, trying to add new things to yourself, because that's what one of my favorite Olympians like Abhinav Bindra has always done. Like, he's always tried to do new things. And that is, I think, what separates maybe the great from the truly great athlete. Somebody who's not happy with what, like maybe 100 tests कर दिया, 500 wicket ले लिया, I'm very happy. I'm pretty sure that after the test series ends, if there is a certain amount of break that he gets between this and the IPL, he's probably going back to the drawing board trying to do different things. So maybe that is something that would stand out for me about Ashwin. I don't know, if you ask today, maybe a lot of fans might say that the thing that he does not answer is phone calls or replies to text messages from certain former India cricketers is what stands out. But Venkat, a more nuanced answer than that, what according to you would be Ashwin's legacy?
For me, he's a GOAT. There is no doubt about it. He would walk into...
That's just Chennai bias, man. Nothing else.
No, but I was just thinking the other day, we don't have off-spinners in the circuit anymore. World over. There is Nathan Lyon, there is now Ashwin. I think we'll know the worth only after they hang up their boots, and then we'll be like realizing like where is the off-spinner. Because the off-spinner, when you talk to cricketers like right across, they all say like the current set of batsmen don't know to play the balls that come into the stumps. And Ashwin, yes, the off-spin is the most simplest of art, they will say, but it's an extraordinary art as well at the same time, because there is like so much involved in it, like from flight and everything to it. And then there is something like brings joy as an off-spinner. Watching an off-spinner bowl, it's like it comes with this like, it brings you a lot of joy. That's all, at least it's been for me since I started watching cricket. So I think when Ashwin is not around, then we'll feel like when you're watching a test match at home, then you realize like, man, when a left-hand batsman is like going great guns, because I see like a lot of left-armers coming through, and if left-arm spinner is bowling, and then if he's like whacking them all over the park, then we might say like, okay, where are we going to get a wicket? Where is this man who's to like eat this left-handers for breakfast, lunch and dinner? I think that's when we'll realize the worth of Ashwin even more, because he has always brought like, okay, when he has the ball in his hand, you'll always think like, okay, listen, he's gonna go for wicket. I mean, Anil Kumble was India's biggest ever match winner, and the thing that trade about him that a lot of us like had enjoyed was he always went for the wicket, and he had the aggression of a fast bowler. With Ashwin, he may not be has the aggression of a fast bowler, but because he's out and out spinner, but he had everything in him. So once he hangs up his boot, then we'll see like, okay, there's going to be a huge vacuum. I think that's going to be the biggest tribute to Ashwin. The vacuum that's going to come after he leaves, I think that's going to be the biggest tribute to him, I believe.
Right, and we're not talking about retirement just yet. I think there'll be some more time before that happens, and maybe we'll have a nice tribute episode and we'll have you back for that, Venkat. And of course, much before that as well, whenever there is anything we need cricket. But thanks, Venkat, for joining us. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll be back with a new episode of Game Time next week. Let's see what's in store. And it's a busy week with All England and everything else that's happening. So we'll see you next week. Thanks again for listening.
You were listening to Express Sports by the Indian Express. This week's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by me, Shashank Bhargav. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.